Well, welcome back. My name is Chris. I'm the lead pastor here at Hoboken Grace. And right now, we are in the midst of this conversation, making love. And for the next few weeks, we're going to be focusing in on relationships. What does God have to say to us? What does he want to teach us about lasting, meaningful, powerful relationships? And I know for some of you, you're thinking, wait, isn't this something that you should talk about after Valentine's Day? And to be honest with you, in the past, we've talked about relationships coming out of Valentine's Day. And almost every time someone has come up to me afterwards and said, I wish I'd known that going into Valentine's Day. So this year, we decided to flip it up a little bit, and hopefully what we have to talk about may change our perspective on what some of us think is a wonderful holiday and some of us think is a terrible holiday. But either way, one of the things that we know is love is crucial to life, and love is crucial to really our entire journey with God. And so we want to look at, okay, God, what would you teach us? What would you have for us in this area of our lives? And last week we began with a commitment to no more wall jumping. Now, if you weren't with us, I highly encourage you to go back and be part of that conversation, listen to that conversation, because this is something that is going to weave throughout our entire series. But Jesus says that he created relationships to bring a certain joy into our lives, that he created us to be able to experience life in a certain way, but that for many of us, rather than following him into it, rather than him leading us through the gate to that, we try to jump over the wall to steal it. And last week as we began, we decided no more wall jumping. Okay, Jesus, how would you have us follow you into love? And we talked about the reality. No, we can do this. We can actually be the love that Jesus created for us to be and to bring to the world around us. And this is so important. It's so important because love doesn't begin with finding the right person. It begins with becoming the right person. And so we began this journey and said, okay, how do we do this? I want to live in such a way that I'm becoming that person so I can bring it to the world around me. And when you begin to take on that mindset, it changes everything. It changes everything. It changes everything about relationships, including the way that relationships begin, including initiating. And one of the most complicated aspects of making love is initiation, because you're nervous and you're wondering, okay, is the other person going to value me? Is the other person going to accept me? Is the other person going to value what it is that I have to offer? And make no mistake about it. Listen, it all comes down to that. It all comes down to that. Will the other person value what it is that I have to offer? And we initiate with those around us in relationship. We initiate based on what we believe we have to offer. And some of you don't think you have anything to offer. And so for your whole life, you've just kind of sat on the side, and you haven't really looked to engage those around you, and you have your friends maybe, but the idea of really putting yourself out there and developing new relationships is terrifying to you because you think you have nothing to offer. Let me tell you, today's conversation, I hope, changes that for the rest of your life. For others of you think you do have something to offer, and you've lived your life engaging the world around you with what it is that you think you have to offer, and this can be a variety of different things, and so you think, well, I have attractiveness to offer, and so you engage with that, or I have sexuality to offer, or I have status to offer, or maybe some of you are like me, and you're just lighthearted and funny, and so I have humor to offer, and obviously that's not always the case with me, but all of us, we come at this and say, okay, well, I have this to offer, and so maybe you're the party one, and you're fun to be around, and this is what you have to offer, and we move through life and we move through relationships and we're trying to figure out, okay, what is it that they want? What is it that people around me, the people that I want? What is it that they want? And what is it that I have to offer? And how do I present that? And really, this is how we engage one another. And this is how we initiate relationships. And we're communicating not just what we want, but what it is that we have to offer. And this is really how our relationships work. Here's what I have to offer. Here's what you have to offer. Okay, I value that. I value that. But there are some problems with that. One problem is this: what you offer, you have to provide. And so if you're going to offer funny, then you better be funny. And some of the things that we offer, we can't sustain. So you can have as many plastic surgeries as you want. You can't sustain what it is that originally you offered. Life has changed and you've changed. Sometimes we don't want it to sustain. We thought we would, but we don't. I'll have conversations with couples, and one of them will be like, okay, I enjoyed the party thing at the beginning, but I feel like it's time for that to end. And the other person saying, but I mean, this is what I have to offer. And the reality is that most of the things that we offer and that we think that we want and that we communicate that we want, most of those can sustain relationships for a time. But eventually they break down. They break down because eventually, listen, eventually we want from the other person the best thing that they have to offer. Eventually we come to the point where we want from the other person the best thing that they have to offer. And you say, well, what do you mean? What is that? Well, let me take you to how Jesus steps into our story. Because when Jesus steps into our story, he actually offers something. He brings something to the table, and he says, okay, this is what I have to offer. Now, he didn't have to do that. He could have just taken control, but God wants a relationship with you. He doesn't just want to control you. And so he steps in and says, okay, here's what I have to offer. This is what I bring to the table. Listen to what it says in John chapter 15. It says, as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. Jesus steps into our life and he says, no, here, okay, I understand what you guys are offering each other and all that, but here's what I want to offer you. This love that the Father and I have, I want to offer that to you. Here's what I have to offer. Love. Now, this is interesting because some of us, this really frustrates us about Jesus because we want him to offer other things, and he could have offered anything. And we're like, okay, Jesus, I like the love thing, but if you could, what I'd really like for you to offer is success. What I'd really like for you to offer is health. What I'd really like for you to offer is the person that I want to be with. And Jesus says, no. That's not what I have to offer. What I have to offer is this. And here's what he teaches us. This is the best thing I have to offer. And I know that you want those other things. And I know that you want to use me to get those other things, which is what many of us do. But the best thing I have to offer is this. I want for you to know a relationship in which you are completely and fully loved. I want for you to experience what we talked about last week about love, that love is patient and kind and always trusts and all of those things that we work through. He says, I want for you to know a relationship like that, where you are valued not just when you have it together, but even when you're falling apart. I want for you to know someone who's going to stick by you no matter what. I want for you to know what real, true, meaningful, lasting love is. This is what I have to offer you. And listen to me, make no mistake about it, no matter what you've done, no matter what mistakes you've made in your past, Jesus gave his life for you to have what it is that he offers, for you to have that relationship with him, to be loved by him. And he says, this is the most valuable thing that I have to offer. And not only that, but then he turns to us, and it continues. He says, now remain in my love. He turns to us and he says, not only is this the most valuable thing that I have to offer, but this is the most valuable thing that you have to offer. He continues, if you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and remain in his love. Now, what is he saying here? He says, he's not saying, hey, if you get it right, then you'll stay in my love. He says, no. Everything that I've taught you is about loving. Do you understand what he's saying? Everything I've taught you is about loving. If you want to be able to be loved the way that I'm loved, then follow me. Oftentimes people misunderstand this passage and they think that this is a condition. No, this is a reality. If you follow me in this, you will remain in my love. Not like, hey, get it right or I'm taking it away. No, this is the way to do it. I've taught you how to do this. Just as is the case with my Father. Just as I listened, obeyed, followed him, right? And was able to bring his love to the world. And so what is his ultimate command? He says, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Again, just like we talked about last week, this has to do with life as well. This doesn't just have to do with our eternity. This has to do with the life that we live, the joy of the life that we were created to experience. And then he continues, he says, my command, he says, remember the command? He says, if you obey my command, and again, he's saying it again, my command is this. What is it that I'm trying to teach you? What is it that I want for you to do? He says, is this, love each other as I have loved you. This is actually him repeating something that he said a couple of chapters earlier. Listen to what it says in John chapter 13. He says, a new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. Now, here's the thing. Jesus could have commanded us to bring all sorts of things into the lives of the people around us. He could have commanded us to bring anything that he wanted to command. He could have given us a list of all these different things that we needed to bring into the world around us, that we needed to bring into the lives of the people around us. But instead, he says, no, I'm just going to give you one command. Here's that one command. Love one another. Here is the most valuable thing you have to give. Here's the most valuable thing that I want for you to bring into the lives of those around you. Here's it. It is love. You want to know the most valuable thing you have to give? It's love. This is what I want for you to bring into the world around you. What is it that you have to offer? Jesus says the most valuable thing that you have to offer is love. And he says, if you will follow him, if you'll obey his commands, then you will remain in that love. This will develop in you. Last week we talked about how you can do it. Jesus says, no, I'm going to develop this in you. And this is the most valuable thing that you have to bring to the world around you. What is it that you have to offer? What I have to offer is love. if we will decide that we're more interested in being loved than in being loved. If we'll decide that we're more interested in being loved than, or in being loved than in being loved. You say, well, I mean, how do I do that? Well, you get busy. Not get busy that way. You get busy loving people. And here's the thing. Oftentimes people will say, well, I'm not, I'll work on that when I get into a relationship. No, you work on it now, wherever it is that you are. If you're in a relationship, then you get to work on it in a relationship. If you're in a situation where you're not in a romantic relationship, which typically is the only type of relationship that we talk about as a relationship, no, all of us have relationships. You start working on it now where you are, with the people who are around you, with your family, with your roommate, which often presents you with incredible opportunities to get better at love, because they're so frustrating to live with. And you walk into it and say, okay, how do I get busy loving the people around me? How do I get busy developing in me that patience? You don't have to wait until you get into a romantic relationship to work on controlling your tongue, to work on gaining that patience and controlling your temper, to work on controlling where it is that your eyes are directed, to work on controlling being faithful to someone. You can be faithful to the one that you will be with right now. And that means taking seriously what it is that you put in front of your eyes, and taking seriously the way in which you engage those around you sexually. This starts not then, it starts now. And you decide, no, I want to begin to develop this in me. One of the reasons that we call people to join teams here at Hoboken Grace is because it's a place for them to be able to work out what it means to be like Jesus and to live a life of service, where I'm getting better at, okay, not just living life for myself, but living life for those around me. And when you decide, no, I'm going to get serious about this, and I'm going to get serious about growing to be more like Jesus, I'm going to get serious about making sure that I'm actually living out love in my life, there's two things that happen. Number one is you surround yourself, when you get serious about this, you get busy doing this, you surround yourself with people who are serious about it as well. The second thing that happens is it begins to change your attraction. Some of you are like, listen, if this is all that I'm offering, no one's going to want that. The world doesn't want this. The world wants what I'm offering now, and the world's not going to want this. I mean, how do you even do that? The reality is you're not going to be able to do it at a bar. I can tell you that. You can't demonstrate that at a bar. You're going to actually have to live with people, be engaged in community where you can see whether or not people are actually loving, where you can actually demonstrate the fact that, no, I'm serious about loving people. That only happens inside of community. But when you get serious about this, not only are you surrounded by people, do you find yourself surrounded by people who are serious about it, but another thing happens, and that is this. It changes your attraction. This also happens to others who are serious about this. It changes their attraction as well. It changes what you want. And this is true about just about anything in life. When you get serious about something, it changes your attraction. So if you're a fitness person, it's highly likely that you're attracted to someone who's in shape. It's highly likely. If you're a gamer, it's highly likely. Like if you're someone who's just in that world, you love that world, it's highly likely that you're attracted to someone who's also a gamer. And obviously there's all sorts of different aspects to this, but we understand, okay, when I begin to value something, well, I don't just value that myself, I actually value that in others. And it impacts what it is that I'm attracted to. And when you get serious about this, not only do you find yourself surrounded by people who are serious about this, but it actually changes your attraction. And all of a sudden, listen to me, all of a sudden you're attracted to that. Why? Because you see, wow, they're really good at something I really want to be good at. And I know how much work that takes. I know how valuable that character is. It changes your attraction. And so rather than you being attracted to that which is unloving, you begin to be repelled by it. But it doesn't begin with finding the right person. It begins with you. Okay, I'm going to get serious about this in my life. It's amazing how many couples, as I look back over the past 13 years, how many couples we have that have met and have actually gotten married, that they met here at Hoboken Grace. And almost every single one of those couples, as you walk back through the years, it didn't start with them just finding one another randomly on a Sunday morning and they bumped into each other. For most of them, it didn't even start with a connection event. For most of them, it started because they got serious about this. And as they got serious about this, they looked around at the other people who were serving with them, the other people who were dinner group leaders with them, the other people who were on that team with them. They got serious about this, and all of a sudden they looked around and they're like, wow, I'm attracted to that. And they were able to engage one another with the most valuable thing that they had to offer, which was love. And here's the thing. Those other things that we have to offer, they can sustain a relationship for a little while because they feed our flesh. They make us feel good, and they can sustain it for a little while. But eventually, you're going to want from the other person the most valuable thing they have to offer. And if you're with someone, or if the other person is with someone who hasn't been serious about developing this, who hasn't been serious about, no, I want to become love the way that my Heavenly Father is love. Because remember, we talked about this passage last week, right? I want you to love as I've loved, so you must love one another. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples. Here's how people are going to know that you're following me. If you love one another. Eventually, you're going to realize, man, if this thing's going to last, it's going to take the most valuable thing that we have to offer. Which is love. As we get started with this, I hope you're seeing, wow, my future relationships, the future of our relationship, if you're currently in one, doesn't have to do with finding the right person. It has to do with who I am. And for those of you who are engaging this and are looking at dating, and I want to bring this to you today because I want for you to understand, and this goes back to what we said last week. For those of you who are here or listening and you think you don't have anything to offer, yes, you do. Yes, you do. And if you'll decide, no, Jesus, I want to follow you in being love. I want to follow you in becoming someone who loves well. You have the most valuable thing to offer. And for those of you who have been following God in this, you need to understand what you have to offer is phenomenally significant. And I want to encourage you to get busy loving people, whether that's serving on a team here at Hoboken Grace or maybe some other place where God's calling you to serve and love and give and engage. To throw yourself into that. To continue developing within you what God is calling us to. And to recognize that as you do that inside a community, you're going to be able to give to others the most valuable thing. And you're going to be able to experience relationships in ways that you never have before. And for those of you who are watching that maybe you've been offering something else. And here's the interesting thing. What it is that we think we have to offer, well, we put a lot of time and effort into that, don't we? We put a lot of time and effort. We invest our lives in that in many ways. For some of us today, I think we need to realize, man, wait, I've been investing my life in the wrong thing. and it's leading to the wrong attraction, and it may be surrounding you with the wrong people. You have something better to offer. And I know as we walk through this, some people will say, man, if I pour myself, no one's going to be attracted to that. Yes, they will. Not those who are trying to steal it. They won't be. But the others who are serious about this, they will be. They will be. This is the most valuable thing that we have to offer. And Jesus wants to lead us into relationships where we're able to, with one another, offer what it is that he's given to us. What do you have to offer? If you've stepped into this relationship with him, he wants to develop in you the most valuable thing of all. The ability to love the way that he's loved you. Will you pray with me? Father, I pray that today, I pray for those who maybe have bought into the lie that they have nothing to offer. I pray that today you would ignite in them a hope, a joy and excitement. That no, they do have something to offer the world around them. And they can do this, as we talked about last week. I pray that it would drive that it would ignite in us a drive to continue to get better and better at loving, whether that's our family, whether that's our friends, whether that's the current relationships that we're in, that we would work to become more and more like you in that way. I pray for those who maybe have been investing in the wrong thing to offer, those things that will sustain only for a short time. I pray that today would be the turning point where they say, no, that's not the most valuable thing I have to offer. That they'll pour themselves into this in that way, that they'll serve, that they'll engage you on this mission to surround themselves with others who are doing the same. And Father, I pray for those who've been on this journey that they'll be encouraged. Those who've been working on this, that they'll be encouraged. That no. They're following you in this. And as you told us last week, if we follow you will lead us into the joy of life that you created for us to experience. And that you'll be faithful. Pray that they'd be encouraged. That know what it is that they're valuing in themselves, what it is that they're valuing in those around them is the most important thing. In Jesus' name, amen.